not quite how we want it.
Hello everyone, Kelsey here and welcome back to Gal. Today I'm showing you these really cool lyric video effects that you can start applying to your next video edit or commercial. And this tutorial was actually inspired by a comment that was left on my most recent video. Red Letter Day wrote, "I'd love to see a tutorial for how to do the lyric video effects for Body by Loud Luxury featuring Brando. Specifically, I'd like to learn how to do dynamic lyrics like they did around the dancing lip-syncing girl." So in this lyric video, there was a lot of rotoscoping and motion tracking done. So to illustrate this, I picked 3 different examples to help you start doing these effects in your next music video. The first one being how to track text to the background of a scene in a moving shot, and how to rotoscope out a person moving in front of the text. The second example is, let's say you have a person who's moving their head and you want the text to stay glued to that person's head, so it's floating text. And thirdly, I'm going to show you how to do planar tracking, so you can put text on the ground in perspective or attached to a wall in a moving scene. So those are the 3 examples. And I'm going to show you how to use these awesome text animation presets so the lyrics can animate up. And these text presets are from Studio Plugins, who is the sponsor of today's video. Studio Plugins has a whole suite of thousands of text presets, graphics and elements, as well as seamless transitions in Premiere Pro that you can open up and use as a panel in the software. So it's almost like a Swiss Army knife of different effects that you can apply, and it's a must-have tool for editors. So if you're interested in trying it out, you can use my link down below, and I'll be talking more about how to use these presets throughout the tutorial, and I'll be showing you how to use the seamless transitions at the end. So thank you, Studio Plugins, and without further ado, time-coded chapters are down below for review, and let's go ahead and jump on in. So we're going to be using After Effects for all of the text animation because it involves rotoscoping and motion tracking. But I actually like to start in Premiere Pro, and I cut up all my clips to the beat of the music because it's actually easier to use Premiere Pro for cutting versus After Effects. And so what I'm going to do is use Dynamic Link to send all these clips to After Effects. So first I'm going to select all the clips here and press the Alt key on a PC or the Option key on a Mac, and I'm going to click and drag all the footage up to duplicate it. And it's important to duplicate this in case you ever want to go back to the original in the timeline after you use Dynamic Link. So now we can last one select the video from video layer 1 and the audio track, and right click and select Replace with After Effects Composition. And this will create a new comp in After Effects with all the clips lined up with the music. So here's the first shot with the dancer walking across the frame. Let's go to the type tool and type out Safe House, which is the first lyric line. And I'm using a font called Blue Sakura. It's a free font, and I'll resize this and just place it back in frame. It doesn't matter where you put it yet because we're going to be doing some resizing later. I'll also cut the text layer to be the same duration as the shot below. To do that, you can move your playhead to the start of the footage. Then you can zoom into your timeline for precision using this little slider. Then you can press the Command or Control key on a PC and use the left or right arrow keys to move frame by frame until you get it at the correct frame that you want to cut at. And then to cut, you can press Alt or Option on a Mac and press the left bracket key to make a cut on the left. And then we can do the same thing on the right, but this time we'll use the right bracket key. So that way it's trimmed to match the clip duration. So as we play it back, the text doesn't move with the shot. So this is where we can use tracking. First, select our footage shot layer, then go up to animation and select track in BorisFX Mocha. This will apply the Mocha Ae effect to your footage, and double click on the Mocha icon here to open up the tracking software. So this is the free version of Mocha that comes built in with After Effects. And although it's the light version, not the pro version, it still has a ton of capability, and that's why we're able to use it for this motion tracking effect. So here, click on the X-spline tool, and this is where we're going to click and draw a rectangle around the fence area, the place that we want to track. Next, let's track it. But first, let's also select perspective as we want to track that as well. And then you can use these 2 buttons here to track forwards and backwards until it's done. So now as we play it back, you can see that Mocha did an excellent job tracking the surface of this fence here. Now we can click on Show Surface, and this is where we can move the corners so that way it matches the fence perspective. This is essentially going to be the area that's corner pinned in After Effects, the place where the text is going to be. And here's a useful tip. You can go to Layer Properties and you can insert a grid to get a preview of how the graphic text will look inside of the surface. And I think it's looking pretty good. You can also view the plane grid, which will show you the orientation and perspective of how the text will be inserted once we apply it. So this looks good, and then we can hit save and then close this window and go back to Effect Controls. And here we can open up the tracking data and select Create Track Data. And then a little box will open up and just select layer 1 because we only have one tracking layer. And now this will apply all that tracking data to our footage clip. If you open up the footage clip, you'll see all the tracking data applied to this layer. Now we can apply the track data to the text layer. To do that, go back to Effect Controls, and down here at the bottom, we can choose to export it to the text layer. So select that text layer and then hit Apply Export. And now when we hit play, you can see the text got a little bit distorted, but that's okay because we're going to fix that. The main thing is that it's tracked to the fence. So to fix the distortion, go to the character settings here for the text, and let's vertically scale up the text. And we can also go back to the layer and go to the transform tools to move the position, scale, and rotation until the text looks just right. So it's tracked. Now we can add some animation, and then I'll show you how to rotoscope. To add one of these animation presets from Studio plugins, go up to Window, Extensions, and select AE Studio. And you'll need to download and install this plugin prior to opening After Effects in order to see it. So here I'm going to preview some of the decoding animation presets to apply to my text layer. Once you find the preset that you like, I like the Decode 26, you can select it, and then you can choose if you want to have it animate in or out, or apply both in and out animations. And for this, I'll just apply the in, and then you'll see an in marker was applied to the layer, and then we can move this marker to match the timing of the lyrics that are sung. If you want to save this animation for the future, you can always leave a star next to it. That way you can easily filter by the stars in the future. If you change your mind and you don't like this preset, you can always go back to Studio Plugins panel here and select Remove, and then you can reapply a new animation preset. So now that we have the animation done, now we need to place the text behind the guy that's walking in the frame, and this is where rotoscoping comes into play. So first we need to duplicate the footage layer, Command D on a Mac or Control D on a PC, and then move up this duplicate on top of the text layer. And let's press Enter to rename this to Roto 1. Then we can double click to open it up in the layer window. And from here we can zoom in on our subject and then go up and select the Rotobrush tool. And you can just click and roughly outline the subject in our green Rotobrush tool. Now it may not generate a perfect outline, and this is where you can go in and fix it by pressing the Alt key, which will make the brush red, and you can subtract any unwanted parts using this shortcut. And then once it's perfectly outlined, you can press the space bar and After Effects will roto out the subject frame by frame. And now we can go back to the composition and you can see now the guy is walking in front of the text. And that's all good. If you're finding that it's rendering slow for you, you can always change the playback resolution to 1/4, so that way it's faster to preview. If you don't want the text to be so bright, you can definitely play around with the blend modes, or you can press T on the text layer and reduce the opacity down so it's less intense. And that's how you can do the first type of tracking. And now let's go ahead onto the floating text next to the guy's head. So I've already typed out the next lyric for this shot, Love in the Dark, and I want to track it to his head. To do this, you can also use Mocha, but I want to show you another way. This time you can select the video clip and go to the tracker panel. In here, select Track Motion. This will open up the layer window with a track point. In here, we want to find a spot with high contrast to place the tracker point. In this case, I'm going to use the eye. So I'm going to click the center of the tracker and move it over the eye and resize it so it encompasses the full eye. Now we can make a target layer. So let's go up to Layer, New, Null Object, and let's name this layer Tracker 1. Then from the tracker panel, click Edit Target and choose the Tracker 1 null object that we just made. And then we can analyze this clip forward and back, and once it's done tracking, we can hit Apply. And now all we have to do is change the parent of the Love in the Dark text layer to tracker 1. So now this text layer is using all the tracking motion that we applied to tracker 1. So now when we play it back, you can see it nicely sticks to the motion of his head. And next we can go to Studio Plugins, and once again we can apply a text animation effect for this text layer. I'm going to choose from Position, Scale, and Tracking presets, and then I'm just going to hit the Apply in Animation. And this is how this animation looks. So for this final one, tracking to the ground, we're also going to use Mocha because it uses planar tracking, because this surface that we're tracking to is kind of angled backwards and has perspective. It's not going to work just to use the basic motion tracking inside of After Effects. Now there's also a tracking camera as well, and some people use this to do text on walls. But for some tricky shots and tricky angles, sometimes the 3D camera tracker doesn't work that great. So this is why Mocha is so essential. So I already have the text made, and now we just need to do the tracking. So select the video clip, then go up to Animation, Track in BorisFX Mocha, and then click on the Mocha icon from Effect Controls. Just like we did before, you're going to use the X-Spline tool to track the ground. So I'll just click the edges here and close it off. And then I'll track forwards and back until it's complete. Next, we're going to turn on the surface area, and let's move these corners into perspective. And you can actually use the grid of the surface here to make sure it's following the exact perspective of the ground. And then you can go to Properties and just insert a grid quickly to make sure everything's looking good. If everything's good, then you can hit Save and close this window. And then from Effect Controls, we can create the track data, just like we did before. And then from Layer Export to, let's select the text layer that we want to apply the tracking data to and hit Apply Export. From here, we can then go to the text layer controls and reposition it until it looks good. And what's really cool is that when we scale and resize it, you'll also see that it changes perspective because of the Mocha Ae perspective tracking, which is super cool. And finally, just like before, I'm going to choose another animation preset from Studio Plugins. That way we'll have a really nice, easy text animation to apply to our text layer. And this is how it looks.
It's not quite how we want it.
So I went through about a minute of the song and I rotoscoped and I motion tracked the lyrics to the footage. And then after I hit save, when I go back to Premiere Pro, you'll now see that we have this pink layer here, and that's the dynamically linked composition that's from After Effects. And you'll see that all of the text is motion tracked here in Premiere Pro. And now for some final touches, I just want to add some seamless transitions between a few of the cuts. But you'll notice that this dynamically linked comp doesn't have any cuts in it. And this is why it was important for us to actually duplicate all the clips like we did in the beginning. So then we can identify here where the cut points are. So now we can go to the Premiere Studio Plugins panel. We can open that up. And from transitions, you can preview a bunch of really cool seamless transitions that are really easy to apply. So once you identify one that you like, you can actually go to that cut point you want to apply it to, move the playhead there, and then hit the little apply icon from the Premiere Studio panel, and it will automatically place it directly in your timeline. So I'm just going to go through quickly and apply a bunch of these really cool seamless transitions into my timeline here from Studio Plugins. And here is the final lyric video with all of the effects applied.
Safe house. All that can't be seen in the daylight. Just to know our hearts. When we met, we just fit right. Now we're too busy fighting all fights. Living the dark. And I know we're both thinking, but we never say. It's not quite how we want it.
So I hope that these effects inspire you for your next lyric video edit, or if you're watching a Netflix show or a music video and you see an effect on, you can be like, oh, I know how to do that now because of Gal. So if this video helped you out, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, and also be sure to subscribe so you're notified when I publish new content. And yeah, thank you so much to Studio Plugins for sponsoring today's video. You guys should definitely check out their text motion presets and seamless transitions. It's seriously a time saver, so highly recommend that. Once again, the link is just down below. So that's all for this video. As usual, keep creating better video with Gal. See you next time. Bye.
Safe house.